Hey folks, I wanted to do a quick update on the deep water culture hydroponic tomatoes. As you can see, they're doing pretty well. We've had quite a bit of rain in the last few days, so I've got the air pump disconnected once again. We had a cool front come through a week or so ago, and the wind got up a little bit high and bent over one of the vines here on the left hand side, and it was bent all the way down onto the ground, and I may wind up having to trim it off, but I propped it up on that bucket. I've got some tomato cages, and I may try to rig one up there to prop it up, because the wind's going to blow those buckets over. But I'm hoping maybe if I can get that thing mended a little bit, it'll take hold and not break off, and be some potential growth there on that side. It's really kind of deceptive here, because this thing was really full in the middle before that wind come through. As you can see, that one on the left here on the bucket was bent over, and bear with the shaking here. Around back, all of this was up top as well that got bent over in that wind, and I just didn't have everything tied up good enough. But as you can see, since I changed the ratio of the formula over to more of a bloom type formula or blend, I'm getting quite a bit more blooms on these things. I've got those, and I've got quite a bit up here. I've actually got a couple of tomatoes growing. I've got that one that's been going. I've got another small one here. But as you can see, there's several blooms in a lot of different places. And as I said before, I think these were the boxcar willies. And this over here, I really think this was the celebrity plant. As you might remember from the earlier videos, these were all cuttings that I took. But as you can see, there's tons of blooms on this one here. And it's doing really good. I'm hoping that some of those will set and start making some fruit as well. All in all, I'm very tickled on how well this is done so far, with no more effort and work that I had to put into it. It was pretty cheap setup. I will tell you one thing, this is more of a question than it is a statement, so to speak, but in the fall here, we don't have a lot of insects out there pollinating like we do in the spring. And with these open pollinated varieties here in the heirloom with the boxcar willie and so forth, I'm wondering if the hybrids might not be a better ideal during the fall, because they're more of a self-pollinating, the way I understand. I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say. In other words, I'm thinking without anything coming around and pollinating these things as often, might be better served with some hybrids in the fall and the winter that's going to more or less self-pollinate. That may or may not be the case. I don't know. I'd have to do a little more studying and thinking on it, I guess. But that was just a thought that popped into my head there. But as you can see, these things are doing reasonably well. I don't know if the fruit that is on here is going to make it to maturity before we start getting some freezing weather in another month and a half or 2 months. I know common thought would be, why don't I just go ahead and move them into the greenhouse with the aquaponics? Well, a couple of reasons. One, I don't think I can move these at this point. It's a pain in the rear at this point to even check the solution level without disturbing the plants too much, because I have to try to pop the lids open there without bending around the stems. Next time I do this, I'm going to have some drains that I can also use as a filling port as well on the bottom, and it'll also work as a sight gauge. But that's just part of the learning curve and that you've got to do. You see so many different techniques that people are using, and until you really learn this stuff, you don't understand why there's so many different techniques. Different ones work better for different people's way of growing, and that's part of the fun is experimenting with this stuff. But the other reason, getting back to the greenhouse, is I think I've made the decision I'm not going to cover it this fall and winter, and the reason why is as you might have seen in some of the other videos, I had the aphid problem, and I'm afraid if I cover it up and plant more, it's just going to take in more problems through the winter, and I think I'm going to just let the system keep running and grow what it will till it freezes, and move on from there. And next summer, before the fall sets in, get a cover on it. I hadn't made up my mind for sure, but I'm way behind the 8 ball if I'm gonna try to get anything else planted in there. But at this point, I think I'm just rambling, and guess I'll cut this on a little shorter. But anyway, I'll keep you guys updated, and I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you again soon.